That's the cheapest way to plant of all and the most effective. We have commercial thinning that cuts out the good trees and leaves the planted one with a forked top. That's a bush. Some of them have 5 tops. They cut the good one down and leave the poor one. Now, this is the sort of thing you don't have to do if you're managing your forest properly. I have very, very minimal forked tips. Only where a deer may have broken off a tip or nibbled it. I don't have the problem of forked tips at 12, 14, 15, 16 feet high from the air, up in the air. That is disaster for the forest of the future. So don't for 1 minute accept the idea that we can cut clear and plant. If we did it properly, maybe. But I don't know, and I don't think they know what properly is as far as planting is concerned. I've seen very good planting done in Europe, exceptionally good planting, because you went back 10 years later and the trees are way up there. But it was done by 2 people planting 1 tree. And it took them 10 or 15 minutes to do so. But 10 years later, the tree was 25 or 30 feet high and a good tree. They won. Now, I want to make one last statement. I know from experience, almost 60 years of it, that sustainable selection of it, and this is individual tree, sometimes group selection is appropriate too. I'm not opposed to it. A group selection is a small group of trees about the size of half a city lot. That would be your group selection, and to get good results. Now, my own operation has never been in the red. And the first cut paid for the property, the road, the standard wages of the day, and gave me some profit. And that was on a 7% cut of the actual stand. I cut back on my next cuts. I originally planned for a complete renewal of the stand volume-wise in a 100-year cycle. I very quickly found I didn't have to wait 100 years. In a little over 50 years, I have 110%, according to Forest Renewal Crews last year, 110% of the volume that I had when I started. And that's in their book. So you can't say that it doesn't pay. For goodness sake, don't regard completely the programs that are handed to you by people that are confined to a certain format. Do your own. It'll be a much better job and get your community together in a way that you can work together, live together, and harvest together. There are many areas that you can't touch by a clear-cut method that you could take trees out of by sustainable selective. This enlarges the area that you can work in. You do have to have, rightly so, areas that are not cut at all. They're too valuable. They're far more valuable than the $200 or $300 a day somebody's going to get for working in them. They're worth thousands of dollars today and spread into the future. Some areas we don't cut. I have one tiny area on my own place I don't cut. It's to see how the forest is so that I have a model at all times to work to. There are areas that could be cut that where normally people might want to have for park. Now, this is a way that you can help to bridge the gap. The logger says, oh, you're doing away with my income. That's not necessarily so. You're spreading his income over a longer period of time, that's all. But there are areas that you can take material out of where you wouldn't dare go in and clear cut. Now, that's a bonanza. It's a bonus, whatever you want to call it. There are other areas that you can work and work over and over and over again. It cuts your roading, contrary to popular belief. It cuts the amount of road. You don't need 100 feet of road to take trees out of the bush.
Right.
And so, right. So there is a room for improved forestry. And that improved forestry could bring the community together. And that's what I want to see. And I want to see a lot of community forestry in BC in the next few years. The forestry department has got to move, or we've got to move them, one or the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Merv, for not talking about your operation, you know. When you get to Merv's age or my age, there's always a little discretion allowed, you know. Thank you very much again for your inspiring comments. I've been asked to announce that the coffee is, and it says finally ready. Do you want to take a 5-minute break and go pick up some coffee and then come back, or do you want to keep going? Janet says to keep going. What do you want to do? This is a democratic... anybody that wants coffee, just feel free to go and get yourself a cup. And, is that all right? Okay, then we can head right into the questions and comments at this point. We've had some very interesting material to think about and to discuss, and I'm sure that a lot of questions are in people's minds. Can I ask that those who wish to speak move directly to the mic, the phone on my right, and introduce themselves, and if they are authorized to represent a group of people, they can mention that. If they wish, it's not necessary.
So do I go ahead at this point? Yeah. Okay. Hello, my name is Paul Kruger. I'm a person very interested in mushrooms. I study mushrooms. I'm with the Vancouver Mycological Society. And I caused some fuss here a while ago by discovering a rare mushroom, Tricholoma apium, which got quite a bit of press. I'd just like to make one comment which is not directly to do with mushrooms. But I would like to suggest that a lot of the alternate silviculture systems and approaches are not as alternative as we'd like to think. I have not seen one pre-harvest silviculture plan that does not use the key phrase as its objective to create an even age stand to produce saw logs in a given amount of years. I don't believe an even age stand is an alternative. What we're looking at is an alternative to even age stand. We want the complexity and the variety that exists in a natural forest. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barb Taylor, and I don't live here, so I hesitate to speak so early, but I just wanted to share something with you. I came out to BC from Nova Scotia about 4 years ago, and there was, I wanted to share a quote that an experience I had last week. I was at a demonstration against clear-cut logging in the Slocan Valley. And we ran up against a counter-demonstration by IWA workers. And they came along in front of us with their banner. But I used this as an opportunity to dialogue with them. And I told them about how back in Nova Scotia, when the thing came up about the jobs versus environment question, I quoted Alexa McDonough, who said, you know, most environmentalists are workers, and most workers are environmentalists. So it's a false dichotomy to try to put a wedge between us. I said, brothers, I think you're being short-sighted here. They accused me of being a professional demonstrator. And I said, no, I'm out here voluntarily on my own time. And you know, I said, are you getting paid for your time here? And they admitted they were. So I said, who's the professional demonstrator? You know, but then, you know, I said, you know, they said, oh, well, we're family people, and we're supporting our families, you know, and you should get a job. And I said, well, yeah, I was a secretary, and I belong to a union. I can really relate, you know, and identify with your cause. But I said, I think you're losing more jobs to technology than to environmental issues.
Pardon me. There'll be no discussion from the audience. Everybody that wants to speak will come to the microphone.
Thank you. Well, I think I've said enough. I'll pass to the next one. Thank you. Sorry.
time to straighten up and fly right. Okay. I said, it's time to straighten up and fly right.
We're the Raging Grannies, and our message is a musical one, which we've timed at 3 minutes. Unless, of course, we have a huge encore demand, which hasn't happened yet.
We haven't got our words, we can't do that.
Okay?
1, 2, 3.
Local folk need forests free, with birds and bees from sea to sea. To barren clear cuts we say no. Selection cutting is the way to go. Ho, 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 don't you see? Elphinstone for you and me brings us water clean and pure. Let's make sure she will endure. Elphin's forest can be saved if sunshine coasters have their way. People and the government must work till one's needs are met. Oh, 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 don't you see? Elphinstone for you and me brings us water clean and pure. Let's make sure she will endure. Listen to the voters' plea. Keep watersheds all logging free. Our pristine beauty don't deface. Preserve it for the human race. Oh, 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 don't you see? Elphinstone's for you and me. Brings us water clean and pure. Let's make sure she will endure. Is that 3 minutes? 1, 2, 3. This land is your land. This land is my land. From Buena Vista to Vancouver Island. From the Arctic Circle to the Great Lakes waters. This land was made for you and me.
Sing along.
This land is your land. This land is my land. We can't keep selling it to the highest bidder. We need our forests and all our water, so this land can last for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From Buena Vista to Vancouver Island. From the Arctic Circle to the Great Lakes waters. This land was made for you and me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raging Grannies. That was a wonderful interlude song. This is going to set a precedent now. Anybody who comes to the mic from here on has to sing their piece. You know?
Maurice, I have a question, not as a Raging Granny, but just as a private citizen. Last night, I watched a short program on CBC TV, which quite appalled me. Apparently, CBC have made a thorough investigation of waste old growth in BC. According to the result, they have found that there is a waste of 3 million tons a year of old growth. That's 300,000 logging trucks. These trees are not considered first class and are therefore burned and then buried. Even though all the trees are perfectly usable, they are not allowed to be used or sold to anybody else. The Minister of Forests, David Zernhelt, when he was interviewed, did not deny